All right, let's do it. The NBA tip-off show powered by WagerTalk.com. The NBA Cup is officially underway. Tuesdays and Fridays now from here on out for the next month. We will once again crown a champion, and here to try to navigate through a couple of these games tonight, the one and only Ski Prophet in the house. And we welcome in, somebody lost a bet, Brian Power in the house here. Not quite sure how that happened, but yet here he is. So good to see you there, Ski, as always, my friend. Let's dive into some of these games here tonight because the NBA, it's in its second year, Ski. Let me ask you first and foremost, are you a big fan of this format and this Tuesdays and Fridays, different looking, group stages and everything else? Do you like it? Do you think it's just a giant waste of time? What's your thought on it?
Well, it's not like they're just, other games. They're still part of the regular season. So
Right.
it's not much different. I think it makes it exciting to have a little bit of a tournament once we get to that part and they get to play for something. It's like a mini playoff. So when you get to see people playing like that, I'll never complain.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the $500,000, prize for those who win, probably not moving the needle. Brian, I'd ask you, but nobody really cares. Let's start with the contrarian play of the day, if we could, though. It's good to see you, though, Brian. Hold on. We got to move. We're running late here, Brian. We just got to keep it rolling. We're going to keep it rolling here. Ski, we're going to talk with the contrarian play of the day, if we could, here. This is a shock. Can you tell who picked this game? The Philadelphia 76ers getting 3 against the New York Knicks. The return of one Mr. Embiid here tonight, but obviously other injury concerns with Philadelphia. I saw the total was dropping in this game as well, Ski, but are you confident that the return of Embiid could actually give Philadelphia not just a cover, but maybe an outright win here against the Knicks?
Am I confident in it? No. My first thought is he is probably not going to be in game shape. His first NBA game playing is probably going to be on a minutes limit. So I'm not sure how much we get from him. I mean, he obviously makes the team better for whatever time he is out there, but it's still not going to be the Joel Embiid that we're used to seeing for this team. That's just my thought. I don't like that the Sixers are coming off of an overtime game. And for the Knicks side, I feel like they have played really well after losing a game. So it's going to be hard for me to think Philadelphia can get some playoff revenge. We haven't seen Embiid and Paul George together. I think, I can understand why it's the contrarian play today, but I think the Knicks will be just a little bit too much right now. And I'll fade the contrarian guys today.
Oh, not back in the contrarian gods. BP, you know how that rolls, man. Are you in agreement with Ski, or do you think Philadelphia's got a little bit of value here tonight against the Knicks?
Well, Joe, first off, I'd like to read this message I got yesterday. It said, BP, can you do the NBA show? The only thing Joe likes talking about more than the NBA Cup is talking the NBA Cup with you. Could you please show up? So here I am, Joe. I would never want to disappoint you, nor would I ever want to disappoint the contrarian gods, because if Philly cannot circle the wagons here, Joe, I think we may need to send Dan Alexander himself back home to slap around the troops. Look, Ski mentioned the playoff revenge. That's one motivational angle. Embiid back in the lineup. He makes a good point, does Ski, that this is not going to be peak Embiid. Is he in game shape? We know he's not going to play tomorrow night. Okay, when it's not a cup game because the man has declared he will not be playing in back-to-backs. But what I worry about with this Knicks team, and I think what gives the Sixers a sliver of hope and why ultimately I am agreeing with the contrarian gods here, the Knicks are just awful defensively. They're bottom third in the league in efficiency. So I think the Sixers are going to find ways to score between Embiid and George. Obviously, no Maxey. And remember, Ski brought up that Philly went into overtime the other night. Very true. They did have a big lead on Charlotte, though. And that was without Embiid. So, again, if not now, when? If the Sixers can't show some life and win this game, then I think there should be real concern in the city of brotherly love. I will agree with the contrarian gods.
Wow. Right. So splitting it right down the middle. Big Daddy in the house here, hanging with us. A life in Vegas. Xavier Koch in the house as well. Good to see you guys. Tyler Always good to see you guys. Shout out to Roy and YouTube Shorts there. Big Knicks fan tonight, laying the 3 against Philadelphia. Not in agreement with the contrarian gods. And Skee leaning a little bit there towards the New York Knicks. All right, couple of interesting games here to kick off the NBA Cup tonight. One of them in Detroit, who I believe some people have Detroit as maybe a long shot to actually make it to the finals here in this NBA Cup. They are certainly, and I believe they got Ausar Thompson back here tonight for them. Miami, no Jimmy Butler. That's always a problem, Skee. Do we trust Detroit and Cade Cunningham to score enough to win this game tonight against Miami?
I don't trust those guys to do it against Miami. The first thing that pops in my mind is listening to Tyler Hero talk after the last game. They were asking him what did he think went right for the team, and he said they just kind of got back to playing their way. Like their way is not trying to outscore teams, just going out there and playing defense. Like they don't want to get into those shootouts like they did in the Nuggets game. So I think they'll make a concentrated effort on the defensive end, and that could be trouble for a Pistons team that struggles to score. So I'm leaning towards the Heat for a side, but I think the total is a little bit better here. I want to say the last 5 meetings between these teams have gone under. I already talked about how the Pistons struggle to score. I also looked at their team total under. It went under 107 or 107 or less, I think, in 6 of their last 8. And for the Heat, similar to what Tyler Hero said, in the games they've won, every opponent has stayed underneath that total. So if I'm leaning towards the Heat, I have to think they hold them down defensively. And if I feel like that, I like under 214.5.
Yeah, listen, a lot of people didn't like the Heat against Minnesota, and they certainly clamped down without Jimmy Butler in that one. How about you, BP? Are you a believer in Miami doing enough to limit Detroit in Detroit here to get a win in this opening round of the NBA Cup?
Well, it's a little awkward. I like the Pistons, actually, in this spot. Motivation is a thing that we're talking about in this NBA Cup. And I think the Pistons are going to be a motivated team. Look, they're 4-7 straight up. That doesn't sound very impressive, right? But then you look back at last year, they had 4 wins only after 41 games. So it's small steps with this Pistons team. I think they are trending in a positive direction. They've won 4 of the last 7 overall, Joe, and 2 of their 3 losses by a combined 3 points. So they've, if they get a couple more baskets, they could be on a 6-1 run entering this game. Miami, you mentioned no Jimmy Butler. They win the game, as Skee mentioned, against Minnesota as 7-point underdogs outright. They were down by 8, though, with 5 minutes remaining. The 94 points they allowed. Hero mentioned they got back to what they wanted to do, but that was their best defensive effort all season. Yes, the Pistons do typically struggle to score. They didn't shoot the ball well when they met the Heat earlier this year, just 38.5%. But I like the way Cade Cunningham has been playing of late. Last 4 games, he averaged 21 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, 3 triple-doubles in there. Give me the Pistons. I think they're going to win it here tonight. I think this is a motivated team in the Emirates Cup. We should not forget the sponsor, Joe.
Yes, because what they needed to do was rebrand it. I have no idea what that is. I will say this, 4th and 7 now for the Heat. I believe this is the 3rd and 5 for Detroit at home. And history tells us Miami not exactly a great spot for them in this one, but certainly experience matters, and Miami has that over Detroit. Don't forget, guys, you're joining us here on the NBA Tip-Off Show. Give us that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. We certainly appreciate it. And, of course, any games that you have questions about, drop them in the chat room or in the comments section, and we'll get to them here at the end. But we would be remiss if we didn't bring up how ridiculous this line is with the Boston Celtics at home over the Atlanta Hawks. It feels, Skee, I mean, it's 15. I don't know that we're running to the window laying 15, but I would think maybe a Celtics team total is in the future. Maybe that's not a bad bet, but Atlanta's not going to play any defense. The total is hovering around 222, 222 and a half, and I think that's only because we don't know how the hell Atlanta's going to score in this one.
Yeah, I mean, you're missing your starting point guard. You're missing a lot of offensive firepower in general. And we know how good the Celtics defense can be whenever they're locked in. Last time they played, I'm pretty sure Atlanta struggled to score, didn't even score 100. So I can understand why we could look at Hawks team total under 103.5. But at the same time, the Hawks don't play any defense. I mean, the defense maybe a little bit improved without Trae Young out there and maybe less pace. Those are two things to think about. But I guess if I'm thinking Boston team total over and Hawks team total under, I mean, I have to like Boston minus 15. It is a situation in the cup where the differential comes into play. So they will run up the score. I think Boston wins this game by 20 plus.
Ooh, there's 20 plus. Shout out to those of you joining us in the chat room. I know Brian H wants to send a shout out to Skee. Says, thanks for the Spurs yesterday, brother. Big shout out there. We appreciate you stopping in. Brian H, just kind of information you get here at WagerTalk.com. Also, Mark A pointing out that, yes, Mark, it's not a misprint. It is Brian Power, in fact, that is here today. And yes, I was busy trying to get him off the show, but unfortunately, here he is. And I know, Brian, you are going to drop some knowledge in this Boston game for us here. Am I crazy thinking the team total over in here, or do you just fade Atlanta in some way, shape, or form?
I would love to call you crazy, Joe, and get some nice quip in here, but no, you're absolutely spot on. Skee brings up a great point about the point differential mattering as well. When these teams did play earlier this year, I think it was the first Atlanta game to go under, but that was because the Hawks, the pace slowed down at the end. Boston, I believe, still went over its team total in that game. And yes, with point differential mattering, there is an incentive to keep scoring and scoring. Atlanta, 27th in defensive rating in the league, only New Orleans, Washington, and Toronto worse. And it is a mash unit. I wanted to look for some maybe player props on the Hawks because after all, this is an NBA game, guys. Somebody's going to get production on the Atlanta side, right? But I mean, my God, you look at the injury report, they may be calling our good friend Mark Zinno into the lineup tonight. Joe, I think it is going to be a long night for the Hawks. Celtics can name their point total. Yes. Team total over.
Team total, it should be because what is it? Modern Shave LLC in the TikTok chat room telling us he believes Jaylen going to score everything. Jaylen Brown back in the lineup here tonight, guys. Is that's what we're getting, right? Still no Porzingis, but Jaylen Brown back in there. Big Daddy likes 9.5 first half to do what they usually do, which is kind of blow away teams like this. I like that for a play as well there, Big Daddy. I think I'm with you in that spot. Obviously, the Celtics can probably name their score here, and we'll see how it goes with Jaylen Brown back in the lineup for him here tonight. All right, so we've got a bunch of different games here for the Cup, the NBA Cup, the Emirates Cup, as Brian Power just renamed it, or apparently the NBA renamed it, but Brian was nice enough to point it out. Let's talk a total if we could here quick, guys, because the game that everyone's going to look at tonight is the return of Klay Thompson to Golden State, only he's wearing a Dallas uniform here tonight. We did see this thing open at 230 and a half, Skee. It's now 235. There's no reason to think there's going to be a ton of defense in this. Is the pace going to be there? Are the shots going to be there? Are we trusting 235 to go up and over here, Skee?
Yeah, this one is tough. I was trying to see here. I think now Derek Lively is expected to play tonight. Yeah, it's a lot to see on the injury report. Lucas should be out there too. I'll say this. I think both Lively and PJ are important for the offense. So getting Lively back would help. Give him that lob threat, etc. And Golden State, they started off the season playing really good defense, but their last 5, I want to say they're bottom 10, probably somewhere around 23rd defensive rated team. So that's not good coming into this matchup. And also, you will have a motivated Klay. And I think his teammates will try to feed him and help him have a good game in this one. Obviously, Golden State is the other side, and you know they're going to try to stop him. But I just think both teams are capable. So am I running to the window to bet over? No. Can I talk you off over? No. I'll lean with the over, I guess, in this game.
Hey, liking the over in this game. It's kind of hard to argue with the market move, BP, because It could be raining threes here tonight, but it's an interesting game from that standpoint, especially with Golden State. What is it? First game home after that 5-game road trip, which was pretty grueling to say the least with the slate of games they had to go through. But man, Golden State ain't going to want to lose at home to Klay Thompson now that he's wearing another uniform, are they?
No, and it's a triple revenge spot from last year. They got swept in the season series by the Mavericks. That adds to the motivation. This 5-game road trip you guys brought up, all 5 games for the Warriors went over. And you talk about a brutal road trip, guys. They had to face Oklahoma City, Cleveland, and Boston in the last 3 games. They gave up 116, 136, 112. They also gave up 112 to the Wizards, who stink. Gave up 121 to the Rockets. So defensively, they were, they struggled on that trip. No doubt about it. What I would look at, I don't know if this is cheating, if I'm breaking the rules, not playing properly on the show, Joe, but I would look at Steph Curry overs. I think the Warriors are the right side here. I would look over his point total. I'd look over PRA, points, just points plus assists if you wanted to do that. I think Steph Curry, it's going to be a monster game from him. If we're all thinking there's going to be points, where do they come from the Golden State side? I'll give you a clue. Steph Curry. Big night for the former MVP, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it was, I think, Little Bull in the chat room there also dropping in how there is a big bench difference between Golden State and Dallas. Mostly Golden State has one and Dallas doesn't. So there are still some injury concerns with Dallas as well. I know Luka's been dealing with the groin injury. Lively is a question mark. There are still some questions injury-wise with Dallas in this one to keep an eye on, but the market thinks we're going up and over with the Golden State Warriors and the Dallas Mavericks here tonight. All right, so we've got a couple of games that guys are asking for in the chat room. We'll get to those in a minute. It is time for some best bets here, though. And Skee, we're going to start with you. It's a great card here tonight to open up the NBA Cup, but what are you thinking? Where are you focusing for a best bet here tonight?
Yeah, for my best bet, I will go to that Miami and Detroit game, back to that game. And I'm looking at the under. I know it came down and it's moved quite a bit, but I still don't think it's moved enough. You look at the last 9 times these teams have played, they averaged 209 points per game. Jimmy Butler out and Hero in. The under is 23-12 for the Miami Heat. And the pace for both of these teams is bottom 10 so far this season. So I just think we'll see more of how we've seen these teams play each time. I trust what Hero is saying. You know, they got to get back to their identity, which is play defense. They'll get into high-scoring games, and the Pistons have been struggling to score anyway lately. So under 214.5 seems like a best bet to me.
Liking it there. Right ankle sprain for Jimmy Butler. That happened against the Nuggets. They are saying there's a good chance that he's going to sit, obviously, maybe the next couple of games, but they're hoping maybe by next week to get him back. What are you thinking here, BP, for a best bet tonight? Which one of these games appeal to you the most?
I will also go back to that Heat Pistons game. I like the Pistons here. I think they're really going to be motivated. They have not beaten the Heat, Joe, in a very long time. I believe it's been over 2 years. They've been swept in the last 2 season series by the Heat. But as I talked about earlier, the Pistons slowly, incrementally are getting better. I think they will shoot better. Doesn't necessarily mean I disagree with Skee by any stretch of the imagination, but they're going to shoot better than they did the first time against Miami, where they were just 38.5%. Cunningham has been in great form of late. And of course, no Jimmy Butler, I do think is key for a Miami team that really played with fire, as they often do. Again, in that Minnesota game, they were down 8 with less than 5 minutes remaining. So I think the Pistons probably just play a money line. Why not? They start the Emirates Cup with a winner.
I like that. All right, so we got a couple of question marks. Skee, last one for you. We'll get you out of here. I know you got another show to run to. So talk to us about, there were some questions about the Bucks and the Raptors. The total has been getting crushed to the under tonight. 229, I'm seeing 225, 224.5. Are we worried? No, Lillard, I believe, in this one here tonight, already ruled out. So points, maybe an under in this one, you thinking? Or is it an over here for you?
Well, Toronto does like to play up tempo. Both teams actually middle of the pack as far as pace. I like to think Toronto pushes the pace though, and they're a team who doesn't really play a whole lot of defense. The worst defensive rated team so far this season. I can't trust either one of these teams to play defense. I trust Giannis to do whatever he wants with his matchup. So just looking at it like that, if I have two teams with questionable defenses, I will absolutely lean towards the over.
Yeah, and questionable defense is right. Again, no Lillard here tonight, but that's not necessarily a nail in a coffin, BP. Skee, get out of here, my man. Locked and loaded over at your page at WagerTalk.com. We appreciate you, as always, stopping by. Visit him at wt.buzz/HP, guys. Go get his best bets here tonight. Brian Power, unfortunately, it's you and me.
Just you and me, Joe.
Yes, it's great. You're about that mute button is about to get full effect here. Talk to me about this total, though. Are you buying the over? Because the market keeps betting this thing down here.
Yeah, and I don't know why. I would have liked the over at the open before it was bet down, Joe.
I'm with you.
We've talked about Milwaukee's defensive issues. Okay, with Damian Lillard on the floor this year, guys, the Bucks defensively have been absolutely abhorrent. They're rating 120.4. Okay, now there's no Lillard, as we've talked about. But even without him, the defensive rating's bad. You factor out garbage time, the defensive rating's just not that much better. Toronto, their defensive rating overall, as Skee astutely pointed out, is the worst in the league, factoring in all situations. Both teams are going to want to push the pace. Again, point differential matters in these things. So if one of these two teams does get out to a lead, there is an incentive to continue scoring, not just pack it in. Yeah, I would absolutely take the over. I do not understand this line move at all. Up, and over.
Interesting here. We do have Rich Forever wants to know if we're Bucks or Raptors money line. Well, it's 8.5 it's up to now. I'm not laying 340 with the Bucks. I don't trust them as far as we can throw them in any way, shape, or form. And it's also kind of hard to lay 8.5 with Milwaukee right now. Although that's another one that was bet up. I think it was 4.5. Then we learned obviously some issues with Toronto, but it's been nothing but Milwaukee money, it feels like, all day long here, BP.
Well, look, you look at the state of the Eastern Conference right now, Joe. It is pretty dire outside once you get beyond the Cavs, Celtics, and Knicks. And I think everyone just assumes that at some random point in the future, both Milwaukee and Philadelphia will turn it on, move up into the top 6. So I understand the love for the Bucks, but I mean, again, you look at, what was it, Sunday when they played Boston? That number was short when they hosted the Celtics. And guess what? They didn't cover either. So yeah, I'm with you. I would not want to lay this with Milwaukee. They did cover 10 when they played Utah here at home. And I bring that up because Toronto's better than Utah, but they're sort of not much better. I would say they're in that bottom tier with the Jazz. So maybe there's life, but with the Bucks, the way they play defense, or how should I say they don't play defense, it's tough to trust them laying this many points. Toronto was beating the Lakers for 2.5 quarters Sunday night. It should be pointed out as a 10.5 point run. And then I don't know if they just forgot how to play basketball or what exactly happened over those last 15 minutes, because I think they scored about 10 points over that stretch. It was shocking.
Yep. It was ugly to say the least here. Also ugly is the comments and questions we're getting. And Tyler, by the way, has an interesting one here too. Giannis triple-double. I'm not sure what that is, Tyler, or what that number is, but I wouldn't be opposed to that either. I think for sure he's going to be able to get his here tonight, especially with Lillard not in the picture here. Getting a lot of love, believe it or not, BP, in the chat rooms for Portland. Let me repeat. Portland getting 9, I think, is it up to 9, 8.5, 9. Listen, do I want to be running? I know, their coach there was absolutely livid about the, what was the quote, piss poor effort that they gave last game. So, when Chauncey's a little bent out of shape, maybe they get a little something, a little motivation going on here at home. But Minnesota laying 9, or are we confident in laying that in this one?
This would be a pass. I mean, because look, you obviously don't want to lay this kind of number with Minnesota on the road. The T-Wolves not as good as they were last year. But Portland, okay, they just played Minnesota. They lose by 25 on the road. Okay, that's a poor effort. What do they do the next game? Well, they lose by 45 at home to Memphis. Okay, now that was a return home after a 4-game road trip. We've all talked about for years how, although 4 games isn't quite a long road trip, but that first game back home, sometimes there is a little rust. Teams don't play well. And Portland obviously is just awful. I mean, they're a bottom, 3 team in the league. I think that's fair to say conservatively, Joe. Them, Washington, and Utah would probably be the bottom 3 if you were power rating it. So I'm not in a rush to bet them. And you know me. I'll bet the ugliest of dogs. And I don't really want to do that. I stepped in front of Cleveland last night, by the way, Joe, and I won. My first best bet of the year.
Yes, I know. That was very nice. Yes, with the Bulls, which is nauseating as it is. We are getting a couple of comments in the chat. I believe Smiley says it great. Basically, he points out that Portland is trash. That's exactly what they are, Smiley. We appreciate you pointing that out. We're also getting just take Anthony Edwards up and over 26 and a half. That's not a bad one. Also, Tyler says we're looking for Blazers first quarter only, not full game. Blazers first quarter only, not full game. You think they'd come out with a little bit of a not a bad look, Tyler? I don't hate it. What do you think?
That sounds like something I kind of want to bet. Actually, now I'm upset that I didn't come up with that on my own. That just sounds fun. Sweating the Portland Trailblazers for 12 minutes. That's a good idea. Yes. I'll tell you what. I'm going to do it, Joe. I'm going to do it. Just for the heck of YOLO. Yes.
Tyler, you see what you just did, Tyler? Do you see what you just did?
Hey, what does Zinno always say, Joe? If they ain't covered early, they ain't covered late. You're going to see whether or not there's effort from Portland right off the rip. And the flip side of that is, okay, they can come out with effort, but can they sustain it for a full 48 minutes? I don't know. But you would think that Portland would be at their best in the first 12 minutes. That is a great look from the chat room. Yes, I'm going to play that just for
that's way to go, chat room. You have just destroyed Brian Power. Appreciate that as always. As long as you're there, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We certainly appreciate it. Shout out to Rich Forever. Just became a subscriber, in fact, here to the WagerTalk TV channel. We appreciate him stopping by. One more that I'm seeing a lot of here is the Utah Jazz. And they are the only team, I believe, BP, at this point, that has not won a home game. I think they're 0-4 at home. It was 3.5. Now it's 5.5 Phoenix. And we know that, of course, Booker is still questionable. Grayson Allen is questionable. Durant looks like he's out. But it still seems like the Phoenix money has come rolling in here. Keontae George looks like he is a go for Utah. But outside of that, they got to win one at home, don't they? No?
Now you've been hanging out with me too long, Joe, when you're saying things like that. Yes, they probably do need to win one at home. And yes, you were correct. The Utah Jazz are the only team in the NBA still without a home victory. It's a little, it's some. I would wait to see how high this gets and take the Jazz with Phoenix out there. You look at Phoenix; they've got the great record, Joe, 8-2. Okay, they're right there with both Oklahoma City and Golden State in the standings. All right, but let's scroll over all the way to the right, or I don't know how far right. It depends what site you're looking at the standings. But let's look at the point differential column. Obviously, point differential has been a big topic of discussion here today with the NBA Cup. Well, Oklahoma City, who I mentioned, 9-2 with a plus 12.2 per game point differential. Golden State, 8-2, plus 11.9 per game point differential. Phoenix, 8-2, plus 2.1 point per game differential. Something does not add up there. They have been winning close. I think, look, there's 2 ways you could do it. 1, let's see how high this number goes and bet Utah. Or 2, if you're in a YOLO mood like me with Portland first quarter, bet the Jazz on the money line.
Oh, this is getting worse by the minute here, Dan. Have you not noticed this? I mean, we're throwing out first 1 to 10 bets. I mean, good Lord, this is awful.
We got to find one of those.
No, forget I even said it. Forget I said anything. Absolutely not. Degenerate special. By the way, shout out to Rusty Nuts, 4745, hanging out in the chat room here. Always good to see you, Rusty. Thanks. He has Jazz on the money line here tonight. Good old Rusty Nuts. Nice job there. Jack Falk, very late to the show. Everyone is doing well. Yes, Jack, we appreciate you stopping in. I am getting a lot of Bradley Beal over 2.5 3-pointers props. I know Booker has struggled from the outside, but you would think that if that prop, I don't know what it is, it's probably 2.5, right? But you could probably go alternate, right? 3.5 with no Durant. I don't think Nurkic is going either, if I'm not mistaken. I think Nurkic is out too, but you would imagine Booker is going to get enough opportunities to be able to launch and make some threes here tonight, no?
The only thing is, I think the production we saw from Beal last time out was because the game went to overtime, Joe.
Yes.
So take that with a grain of salt. I actually don't think I like that one. Sorry, chat room. I don't think I like the Bradley Beal over props. I would tread on those with caution. Let's do something more responsible, like bet the Utah Jazz on the money line.
I like what Tyler's saying, though. He's defending it there, BP. Okay. Jazz, KD out. Suns coming off the overtime game. Elevation. And they tend to allow teams to get back into the game late, which they absolutely do.
That's true.
So not a bad way to look at that one there. All right, we are getting some Paul George over 2.5 threes here tonight. And I know there was a question in the chat regarding the total in that game, which I believe with the Knicks and Sixers came down. It was, I believe, it opened up low in some spots. It went up to as high as 215, I saw. But now it's back down. It's being bought back down. 212 and a half here, BP. Are we... You got to think it's going to be raining threes with the Knicks. If they're hitting them, the Knicks are averaging 114 points a game. How in the hell are we not getting over this number?
Yeah, okay. This total is a tricky handicap because you've got two bad defensive teams, but both teams pace-wise are in the bottom third. So that's what makes it really – I don't know what I would do with the total because you're right. You just look at the raw numbers. You're like, oh, this total's way too low. But I do worry about maybe the pace. Is it not going to be quick enough? I mean, is it going to – you don't want to throw around, terms like playoff-like atmosphere. I think that's kind of a stretch. But I don't know. I for this game, to me, let me just roll with the contrarian gods again to go back to the start of the show and take the Sixers with the points. I think that's the best plan of attack here. The total's a tricky handicap because, yes, both teams stink defensively, but they both rank in the bottom third in pace. So
it's interesting. I mean, it's very interesting because I saw 211 last night overnight. It got as high as 215. Now it's all starting to come back down here. Also, Brandon Carson in the chat room. Welcome in, Brandon. He's got a 3-pick parlay, $100 to win 640. You ready for this, BP? He's laying the 15 with Boston. He's taking the Pistons on the money line. He's taking the Warriors on the money line here tonight. Are you in agreement? Is that something you agree with there? 100 to win 640 here. So a little more than 6 to 1.
I got to be honest. Yeah. Look, I obviously agree
this
on the
is
Pistons.
just terrible. This is awful. The influence from the chat room is over the top right now.
No. And we look on the morning wager, Zeno and I, we talked about Golden State. We think they're the right side. And yeah, I mean, and the Boston's the only side you can play in that game. I mean, I like the team total more than the spread just because, laying, that many points can be tricky at the end. You're sweating it out probably. And Atlanta may just be trying to kind of save its point differential, this thing, if they get down big too. Remember, that's the other half of the equation. But I don't disagree with any of those legs of the three leg parlay. I just don't. As a matter of fact, I'm in very strong agreement with two of them.
Really? Interesting.
Yes.
All right. So Once again, you guys in the chat room have completely corrupted Brian Power, and we love you for that. Outstanding job as always. One final game, BP. We might as well just go over it quick because Charlotte getting 8.5 seems excessive against the Orlando Magic, who, when they lost Boncaro, couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat. They've actually seemed to have put it together over the last couple of games here, have actually now figured out where the points or what they're going to do. I don't know if Wendell Carter is going here tonight, but Charlotte getting 8.5. I don't hate Charlotte. I think there's going to be opportunities to back Charlotte here with Miller and company that I think the market is undervaluing them in some spots here. Is tonight one of them?
Yeah, I would take the Hornets here. Orlando, you look at their offensive rating, 26th in the league. It's a team that's just going to struggle to win by margin, in my opinion. Charlotte's not been bad defensively. They're kind of middle of the pack. That's an improvement over last year, obviously. And you look at the teams against the spread. Charlotte has a winning record. ATS, Orlando's got a losing record. Yeah, I just think missing the star. No, it's not really a rigging endorsement. I'm not rushing to the window to bet Charlotte, but this is just more of a fade of an Orlando team, laying a big number that I just don't think they would. Hornets plus 8.5 is the look I would do in this one for sure.
And I'm laughing because this thing was another one overnight, guys. It was 218 and a half. What in the hell is the total now? 211? 212? And I know Charlotte plays nothing but unders. I believe they are one of the better under teams so far. 8 of the last 10 between these two teams have also gone under. Simply put, the Magic, what else do they have besides playing defense, right? I mean, what else are they going to do here? The market thought this number was too high here. Is there any way, although Orlando's dropped a whole lot of points here over the last couple, but is there any way we would look at the over? Is this gone too low here, BP?
Yeah, you mentioned the Charlotte underrun. It also includes 5 straight. During those 5 games, there have been a combined total of 212, 196, 215, 207, and 216. Yeah. So kind of some of those right around this. Some of them are a little over, some of them under. We mentioned Orlando. A reason not to like Orlando was their poor defensive rating. So that would scare me, obviously, a little bit if you were going to bet the under. And you don't want to, at this point, you wouldn't want to bet the under. If you're going to play the total, I would punch back at the market, if anything. But no, again, let's go back to a minute ago. I think the side's the best look in this one. Charlotte.
Side is the best look. Hornets there. Paul Revere likes the Hornets win. Maurice Fletcher wants to know, Cade triple-double anyone? Also, Giannis. We talked about Giannis earlier. I don't hate that. Cade a triple-double against the Heat?
I don't. He has 3 triple-doubles in the last 4 games. He's averaging a triple-double over those last 4 games. But I don't know if that, me, that's not really the time I want to jump in and play that market then, right? I mean, it's like, it's 3 things have to go right. I don't know. I mean, he's been a stat stuffer. If you like Detroit like I do, obviously Cade Cunningham's going to lead the way. But again, I would feel, it's not as aggressive of a look, but I feel certainly more comfortable just taking the Pistons as the right side in that matchup.
Yeah, I don't hate that. By the way, Jalen Johnson was the Jalen they were referring to in the Hawks and Celtics game with no Trae Young. You would think, is Jalen going here tonight for Atlanta? I'm pretty sure he is. He should be. Somebody's got to get up those points, right? You had mentioned it earlier. Somebody's got to score for Atlanta, no?
Yeah, I mean, it's an NBA game, right? I mean, it's not what are the Hawks going to score 60 points? Somebody's going to have the production. Jalen Johnson, I think earlier I saw his PRA was set at 39.5. I think I was looking earlier because I was looking through the player props for the Hawks. No, we're going to talk about on the show. That seemed high. I just couldn't find a Hawks player to really fall in love with, Joe, in the prop market. Again, I think we're in agreement. Somebody's going to step up. But I just don't feel comfortable isolating any one player in this sort of miserable lot that they're going to be sitting out on the court against, what is still the second best team in the NBA.
That's a big number. 39.5 right now. No Trae Young, no Bogdanovich, no DeAndre Hunter. My God. Well, who is left for this team? Cody Zeller's out. Buffkin's out. I mean, holy crap. What in the hell is left here? So, wow. Somebody's got to score here, BP, unless they're only going to drop 60, which would be very interesting to watch that happen.
Yes, that would be. I know it's not the right time to be playing Boston. Which again, you see how good, or I should say, how poorly the Hawks play defense when their top guys are in. Imagine how poorly the defense is going to be with what they're trotting out on the court tonight. Just to rehash what we said earlier, we like the Celtics to score a lot tonight. I think that's the best play.
We like the Celtics. They also like the Celtics team total. Not a bad look in that one. Celtics first half has also been thrown out by Big Daddy and others. All right, one final one. Then you're going to tell us what you got locked, loaded, ready to roll here on this NBA Cup, the launch of the NBA Cup here tonight, Tuesdays and Fridays with these games. And trust me, it's not the brownie you ate if you turn these games on and you're like, what in the hell kind of floor is that playing on there, BP? My goodness. Yes, it's going to get colorful, but I promise you it's with good reason. But tell me what you got locked and loaded, and then we're going to go over it, because if I see Klay Thompson one more time here in the chat room, I'm going to lose it. So tell me what you got locked, loaded, ready to roll over at WagerTalk.
Yeah, it sounded for a minute. You're talking about me watching the Super Bowl in '98 there, Joe, for a second. But that's a different story for a different day. The story we're going to talk about is that it's $5 Tuesday at WagerTalk.com. And I have a college football best bet. Yes, this is an NBA show, but my $5 players in college football, where I have run exceptionally well, Joe. Number one this season, number one on last 365 days. That's a year for those keeping score at home. 50-23 our last 73 plays in college. We were 5-1 last week. Best bets, Joe. Rutgers +6 against Minnesota. We did not need those points. Scarlet Knights won the game outright. And then we had Utah in the first half +2.5 against BYU, which meant everybody who was on board with me got to go to bed early. Didn't have to watch the second half when BYU came back and won the game. So like this 4% play we've got locked and loaded, 4% plays in college football, Joe, on an 11-2 run going back to September. So we are seeing it very well on the college gridiron, if I do say so myself.
All right, seeing it well there. All right, so the big question is, and we've got Smoking Tree in the house all over the Warriors, Dub Nation on the money line. Don't hate that, Smoking Tree, but I think the other consensus is the Klay Thompson over 2.5 threes. So, I mean, it's the low-hanging fruit there, but that's not always the kind of fruit that cashes out here, BP, and that's what scares me. If he doesn't have that kind of game, and is it just, and plus it's got to be juiced through the nose. I mean, everybody's got to be playing that over 2.5 threes. I would only look at 3.5 threes or leave it.
I almost kind of want to play the under just to be that kind of guy.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah, because everyone's going to do. Let's take a look here at Klay Thompson. I should have known this offhand. Let me look for it real quick. No, I mean, I would look for the under because it's gonna be one of the most popular.
Minus 175. I mean,
no, I'm not. No, I'm not doing that.
No,
stop it.
It would be fade or pass.
Yes, absolutely. Again, it's just just because the guy's returning to face his former team doesn't mean he's magically gonna, rediscover the fountain of youth and hitting threes. I mean, I'm sure he'll be happy. Yep. I'm sure, there will be hugs and handshakes before the game, but that doesn't necessarily mean the man's going to hit 3 threes during the course of action. So it sounds like fun. Yes, he'll be motivated, but, the ball's got to go in the hoop, Joe, last I checked. Yeah. I don't know if it's going to be that for him.
You get that kind of popular prop, and it's like playing the don't pass line. Get right up to the craps table. Everyone's cheering them on. Like, I'll just put my chips on the don't pass. Watch this dude crap out. Don't bite. However, 20.5 PRA might not be a bad look if that's the route you want to go instead, because I have no doubt Luka and Kyrie will try to get him involved a lot in this game. I think at least early anyway. No?
Yeah, he's going to get some looks. I guess, that's the thing too. We've talked about, Portland, their motivation coming out early. I guess, you bring up a good point that I can see them having a play or two designed for Clay very early. And I think that likely is going to determine you're going to know if he hits his first one, okay, then maybe it's going to be a good night for you if you're betting that prop. But if he misses that first one where they're probably designed to go to him, then it's going to be sweaty butt cheeks time, I think, if you're betting that prop.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of sweaty ass here tonight. Curry over 25.5 points is his prop too. I could see that. You like that prop a lot. In fact, there, BP tonight in that game. And that's part of the late slate, 10 o'clock here. Minnesota and Portland's your other late game for those on the East Coast. Anyway, in the meantime, if you're joining us here in the chat rooms, have you hit the like button yet? We would certainly do the thing with the buttons, guys. You know the routine here. Give us that thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. Become part of that Wager Talk TV family if you have not done so. BP locked and loaded, ready to roll here today at WagerTalk.com. So was Skee Profit. We appreciate him stopping by as always. Off and running. Big slate tomorrow. Of course, we'll be back again on Friday, guys, as I believe there's only one game on Thursday. Is that correct, BP, in the NBA? I think Thursday's slate. Is it one? Or is there more than one?
I had that part. Let me take a look here. I looked at there is one game, Dallas and Utah. Dallas and Utah. Don't know what's going on. I'll tell you what. I don't know. They're making room for BYU. I don't know what they're doing up there.
Okay. Well, definitely some games tomorrow, but we'll be back with the NBA Tip-Off Show on Friday, guys. Certainly hope you'll come back and join us. In the meantime, the College Basketball Show also off and running. If you haven't caught that, some great breakdowns on the Duke-Kentucky game as well as Kansas and Michigan State. Check that out on our YouTube page. But mostly have some fun here tonight. Let's cash some tickets. We'll be back again in a couple of days for another edition of the NBA Tip-Off Show. Guys, best of luck. Appreciate you stopping by. We'll see you again on Friday. See you then.